Hey everyone, it's me Dan here with my review for Arrow Season 6, Episode 21, entitled, and I'm going to try my best to pronounce this title, Docket number 11/19/41/73. The title of the episode is a reference to the first ever appearance of Green Arrow. I'm not going to try and connect the numbers to what it means in the actual issue or whatever, but I'm not going to try bother with that because that's just too confusing, so yeah, this is going to be my review for the episode, the third to last episode of Arrow this season, which is crazy to think because after this episode, I just had this feeling that you could have just added 6 more episodes at the end of this, and maybe it would feel like the end of the season. This doesn't feel like the end of a season, which is, I don't know whether to think that's good or bad, but maybe that's just from how good this episode was, because trust me, this was a great episode. So the story of this episode is that it's essentially the trial of Oliver Queen. It's Oliver in court, and it's pretty much the jury on whether he is the Green Arrow or not. Now, of course, we pretty much all know that, yeah, he is the Green Arrow, and we also know that Ricardo Diaz, the main villain of the season, has brought out pretty much every city official and basically the whole courtroom. The whole courtroom is basically against Oliver, so it's pretty much Oliver against all the odds, to the point where there's the slimmest of chances at all that he could actually get out of this. So that storyline pretty much takes up the majority of the episode. You also have a few other side story arcs with Black Siren, mainly her having to choose between either siding with Quentin or siding with Ricardo Diaz. You also had Renee kind of in a little bit of turmoil as to what he was going to do, because obviously he's testifying against Oliver, because we've known this since the mid-season finale. And then you've also got just an abundance of other stuff going on and crazy shit that happens in this episode during the courtroom, and this is a very, very busy episode in terms of the stuff that happens, which is surprising considering about probably 80% of it takes place within the courtroom itself. So for the positives of this episode, which there are a lot of, just straight off the bat, this was a great episode. I thought the main plot of itself, of the actual trial, was actually really, really riveting and very tense as well. We had a story similar to this on The Flash this current season, with I believe episode 10 of The Flash this season, and I felt it was not handled the greatest in there. I didn't really feel much tension throughout the court case because it felt so one-sided from the very get-go, whereas at least with Arrow, even though you knew the odds were against Oliver, the way that they did it just kept on laying on this tension of would he get arrested, would he not, and the way that it built it up with the scenarios and the things that happened throughout the course of the episode was so well done, to the point where at the very end I legitimately didn't know what the final verdict was going to be, and that's how, for me, a court case episode of any TV show should be. It should leave you guessing until the very end, and I liked how they did that. And I also liked a lot of the interactions that Oliver had throughout the case, especially one that he had with William when he is pretty much dead certain he believes that he is going to go to prison. He has a conversation with William about how he wants him to grow up into the man he knows he can be and to be a good person, and that conversation was amazing. I think Stephen Amell in that scene was phenomenal. For me, that was the best scene in the episode for me in terms of Stephen Amell, because he was amazing, and then he had a lot of good lines as well, and it was just such a great episode for him as a character, and it was just really, really cool to see. And I liked how they kept on obviously giving callbacks to stuff in previous seasons. Obviously we had a reference by Quentin to the time when he arrested Oliver numerous times. When he was the Arrow, he did it in Season 1 and he did it in Season 3 as well. You also had a reference to Susan Williams because, of course, in Season 5 she was looking into Oliver, trying to decipher if he was the Green Arrow, and she obviously had the evidence of photos of him in Russia. So I liked all the callbacks that we had in the episode, and I just liked the story in itself because it was so unpredictable and just very, very tense. I also really liked pretty much all of the side stories in this episode. I'm going to start off with the one that I honestly didn't think I was going to like, and that was Renee. Now, I stated last episode that I thought they did a good job of building up Renee to be a more likable character, and in this episode, I feel like they did a good job with it as well. There was one moment where I thought, oh fuck, he's going to go back to his old self, isn't he, where he's giving the testimony, and then Ricardo Diaz walks in with his daughter, Zoe, into the courtroom, and then it pretty much just forces Renee to confess to everything about Oliver, because of course at the end of the day Renee will always put his daughter first. And I just thought this episode with Renee, just as how they built up his character, was very well done. I mean, I think everyone knows from my reviews that I've not been the biggest fan of Renee as a character, but these last 2 episodes have been very good for him. They've definitely made me like his character more. The other storyline we had in the episode is the Black Siren storyline. In this episode, she pretty much gives the middle finger to Ricardo Diaz and sides with Quentin, basically. Ricardo Diaz sets it up so that she is like a witness on his side, and that he has it planned out so that she will say that Oliver Queen is the Green Arrow, and as he puts it himself, she'll be the final nail in the coffin. But after a bit of pep talk from Quentin, and the fact that we pretty much see Ricardo Diaz at one point pretty much like domestically abuse her, like, I'm just going to use that because it was domestic abuse. He had his hand around her throat, for Christ's sakes. But yeah, she goes against him. She pretty much says, nope, Oliver Queen is not the Green Arrow, and obviously that kind of pisses off Ricardo Diaz. And yeah, I think this just pretty much confirms that, yes, she is on the redemption arc. She's definitely against, Ricardo Diaz, as you see at the end of the episode where she tries to take him down, and then she ends up obviously getting captured by him. That was a little bit silly, only because I feel like Black Siren could have maybe had the brains to know maybe it's not a good idea to take him out by myself, but I still enjoyed it nevertheless, and I really decided to do with her. The other positive I have with this episode is, of course, a surprise appearance we have, and it is, of course, none other than Tommy Merlin. Now, we knew that Colin Donnell was going to be in this episode, which was very, very exciting to see because, of course, as you all very well know, I really like Tommy as a character. I really enjoy him. He's probably one of my favourite characters on Arrow. And to see him in this episode was really cool. But then, of course, we get the twist that it's not actually him. It's actually Human Target posing as Tommy. And that was also another cool twist as well. And I just loved that scene where he pretty much crashes straight into the courtroom in the Green Arrow costume. That was so cool. I was a bit miffed that they spoiled that in the trailer for the episode. But at the end of the day, it was quite obvious based on fan theories that we came up with that he was going to, essentially not be the real Tommy Merlin. It would actually be Christopher Chance. I really enjoyed it nevertheless, and I thought Christopher Chance in the episode as well was really, really cool. And there's a cool twist they do at the very end where Renee comes up with the idea to have the judge essentially, get taken out for a bit, and then Christopher Chance will impersonate him and get Oliver out of jail to basically just give them a bit of hope in maybe, not having him go to jail. So that happens. Oliver is basically cleared. Despite the fact that the jury says he's guilty, the judge overrules that and says that the evidence is too conflicting, which I thought was really cool. And the actual revelation when, Oliver's walking into the Arrow bunker and then the judge is there and he takes off his, the face mask and reveals that it's Christopher Chance. That was really surprising because I legitimately didn't think that was going to happen. So fair play to Arrow because they actually really did surprise me with that section. And I also really like Ricardo Diaz in this episode. I mean, I've already said many, many times, I love what Kirk Acevedo does with the role. He's such a threatening character because I like the fact that he just doesn't give a crap about anything. He doesn't care about anything. He will do whatever it takes to win. And I just like that type of villain because I feel like we haven't really had a villain like him on Arrow. And I just love what he's bringing to the table. I hope that he doesn't get killed off at the end of the season because I would love to see him return in Season 7. So fingers crossed that will be the case because I really do like him as a character. Now, the only real small negative I had with the episode was that there were a few moments that did feel like they were forced in at the last minute. There was a few scenes in particular. The one that really stood out to me was the scene where Diggle and Dinah try to have a fight with Ricardo Diaz and a few of his men, as he's about to walk into a limo outside the courtroom. And they try to have this fight with him, and then he ends up having all these police officers surround them, basically trying to show his power, how he's got all the force on his side. And although it was a nice little cool action scene, it felt very out of place. It felt like something that the writers looked back on the episode and thought, oh, we haven't got enough action, let's just shove a scene in right here. It came out of left field, and for me the episode didn't need it because yes, this episode doesn't have a lot of action in it other than the opening scene where Diggle rescues Christopher Chance. But apart from that, there wasn't really much action in the episode, but it didn't matter because the writing was that good. So for me, this action scene just felt a little bit pointless. It didn't need to be there because the writing was so good in itself that the episode was entertaining enough. And I just didn't really feel like that scene needed to be in the episode. So for my final verdict on this episode of Arrow, I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10. I would love to give it a 10, but like I said, I do feel like there were a few scenes that just felt a little bit out of place, and I was just a little bit puzzled as to why they were included. So I feel like a 9.5 is a fair score for the episode. But I said this last week and I gotta say it again. Why is it taking until the last third of this season to actually get good? Like, the first 2/3 of this season for me have been just inconsistent. Why is it taking until now for the show to finally get somewhere? Like, it's just, why couldn't we have had this at the start of the season? Like, why? It's irritating. I'm gonna keep on repeatedly saying this because it's true. This half of the season is far better than the first half, and I just like how we're getting all these consistent episodes. And I can't wait for it. I still can't wrap my head around the fact that there's only 2 more episodes of this season left. Like, you've got next week's episode, which is the penultimate episode, and then the week after is the finale. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. It doesn't feel like you're coming to the end, but I guess that's a good thing in a way, because, you know, you're not having this feeling of, it's all over now. Like, at least it'll hopefully make me more excited for Season 7, which in itself is crazy to think. So thank you for watching my review for this episode. Let me know in the comment section down below, how hyped are you for the last 2 episodes? Like, I've already said, I can't believe we're already at the end of the season, but yeah, I guess that's just how time flies, because I'm really starting to love Arrow. I mean, it's taken a while, but it's nice to actually get some good episodes. Let me know about that in the comment section down below. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you are new, leave a like on this video, and I hope to see you all in the next video.